So if Kaido has a dragon devil fruit or is a dragon, and Vegapunk was experimenting with dragons on Punk Hazard, and he was also experimenting with gigantification, and Big Mom is really interested in giants, and Kaido owes a lifelong debt to Big Mom, so that must mean... What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about a Vegapunk theory. Yes, Vegapunk, one of the most mysterious figures in the One Piece world, but somebody who's very important and is going to play a big role down the line when he actually gets introduced. But right now, we don't really know anything about him, but that's why we theorize. So today, a theory we're going to be talking about is one that connects Vegapunk to Kaido and possibly explains Kaido's debt to Big Mom. Now, before I introduce the theory though, let's get some background information. Starting with Vegapunk. Vegapunk obviously a super genius, made a lot of groundbreaking discoveries. One of the first ones that he made was the lineage factor, and he discovered that with Vince Smoke Judge. Now the lineage factor is essentially like they found out like how DNA works and how it's passed down, and they found a way to like manipulate that. That's like the unscientific breakdown of it, but you know, it was a major development, but it was also very dangerous. You saw what Judge was able to do with this. You know, he like affected his children and like manipulated their DNA and like made superhero. He like made the Avengers essentially out of his own children, and they had like super hard skin and bones and everything, and they also showcased no emotion and like they can't disobey him. And he also cloned a bunch of soldiers that also have no emotion and can't disobey him. He was able to make this major military force through the lineage factor. So obviously the world government was gonna catch wind of this, and they did, and they actually ended up arresting Vegapunk for it. But we don't know what really happened after that. We just know eventually Vegapunk ends up working for the world government. So right now Vegapunk is still working for the world government, and we don't really know where he is, but we do know at one point he was working on Punk Hazard and led a research team there. Now Punk Hazard as we know it now is this desolate land that is destroyed with no habitat and no life forms. But that's because, first of all, Caesar unleashed his gas weapon on it, and then later on, Aokiji and Akainu had their major duel there and like turned half the land into frozen land, and the other half is this like heated desert. But before that, Punk Hazard was a regular island, and in fact there was a military base there, and that's where Vegapunk's research team was, and Caesar was second in command of that research team, and he explained that military base by the world government was created to develop weapons in order to hurt pirates. Now we don't really know how long Vegapunk was there for. The only thing we know is that 4 years ago is when he and everybody left because Caesar was dismissed by Vegapunk for having that like gas weapon, and then because he got like mad that Vegapunk dismissed him, he unleashed it on the island and became inhabitable, and everybody left. But Vegapunk could have been there much longer than that. It could have been there for a very long time. We also don't know what kind of weapons they developed, but we do see some of the experiments that Vegapunk was working on, one of which is dragons. So Vegapunk was working and experimenting with dragons and creating them. We saw two of them, Dragon 2 and Dragon 13. Now Dragon 2 was clearly an early version prototype. It's this like little green goofy dragon that's not very strong. It's kind of silly and like gaggy for storytelling. But Dragon 13 is a whole nother animal. Like it's a big dragon. It's still not like terrifyingly strong because Zoro was able to deal with it pretty easily, but it, you know, it could do some damage. And that was version number 13. Supposedly there were 14 versions of Vegapunk's dragon experiment. And creating dragons wasn't the only thing Vegapunk did in relation to dragons. He also created an artificial dragon devil fruit. Now a lot of people thought this devil fruit was a failure, okay, but for some reason it was still encased in this glass and kept and preserved, even though it was supposed to be a failure. And then Momonosuke ended up finding it and eating it, and then showcased that it wasn't a complete failure. It allows the person that ate it to transform into a dragon. Now it's not like terrifying or hasn't been shown to be very strong, but at least Momonosuke could turn into a dragon. Now one thing to note about this dragon is that it looks a lot like Kaido's dragon form. Now you may be saying that's a big jump to make. You're just saying Momo's dragon form looks like Kaido's dragon form, and now you're slandering Vegapunk for possibly experimenting and torturing Kaido. That's, you know, that's some big allegation right there. Like Vegapunk could definitely sue me on this, but I'm gonna explain it. Let's break it down. First of all, Vegapunk has been shown, like the information we've gotten on him so far, he's been shown to be this very nice guy. He's used science to like help his village and all that kind of stuff. And like, you know, when Caesar created that gas weapon, he's like, it harms like civilians. I'm not gonna let you do this. You're dismissed. And also with Kuma wanted to defend like the Straw Hat's ship, and the world government definitely wouldn't have liked that, but Vegapunk did it anyways and like programmed him to allow him to do that. So he's been shown to be like a kind of a moral scientist. So him experimenting on Kaido and like doing all this scientific stuff to him doesn't make quite a lot of sense, but it could be explained in multiple ways. One is that he's just putting up a front, right? Like he's showing to be this moral scientist, but he's actually like this evil mad scientist that will do anything for science, for his like inventions and experiments. Oda's done this with like Pudding and CP9, people who seem friendly but ends up turning into be like evil people. It could be the case with Vegapunk. Now if you don't like that, you think it's like too cliche, it could have been the fact that the world government just like forced them to do it. Or it could have been like they still forced him to do it, and like the scientist in him was like, oh, I kind of need to see what happens here, because as a scientist, I just need to know, right? And like, you know, he has been shown to be good, but he's not like a complete saint. Like on Punk Hazard, they had pirates as prisoners and they used them for experiments. You don't know what those experiments are, but it's still like human, you're using prisoners for your experiments. And he also still turned Kuma into a cyborg. It's not like Kuma's being treated very well right now. He's just a slave to the Tenryubito. And Vegapunk kind of allowed for that to happen through his turning him into a cyborg. So it could be possible that Vegapunk is a good person, but you know, his urge, like his need to make discoveries and learn more just overtakes sometimes. So that explains why Vegapunk will be experimenting on Kaido, and as for why they would be doing this in general, I think it's pretty obvious. That military base was made to make weapons, and dragons would be a terrifying weapon. One of such ways is just like recreating dragons as a military force. We saw he was definitely making dragons, like trying to create dragons on that island with the dragons 2 to 13. 13 was already pretty big, terrifying force. If you could make a lot of those guys, that's a pretty like strong military force. 14 could have been even stronger than 13, so like that could be one way. And what's interesting about this is dragons are a species that exists in the One Piece world, and we know this through Ryuma, the Legend of Wano. He once held the title of the greatest swordsman, and one of the stories that always get told about Ryuma is that he killed a dragon. Now the strongest swordsman in the world gotta be pretty strong, right? And if Ryuma, like, he has to have accomplished a bunch of things. And, you know, if dragons really weren't that strong, I don't think that story would be brought up that much as, like, something Ryuma accomplished. You would mention, like, greater feats that he did. So dragons are canon, they exist, and they're super strong, but it's possible, like, they could be, one, extinct. Maybe, like, Kaido doesn't have a dragon devil fruit, but his actual dragon, he's like the last dragon, and that's why they captured him and like experimented on him. Or it could be another thing. Now, when I did like thought about this and like discovered this thought, I had like such a great reaction and really wish I captured it on camera. So I was thinking like dragons could be like still alive and not extinct, and like and they're like this terrifying force that you just can't control. The only comparable thing would be like sea kings, and like you can't control sea kings, but wait, hold on, no. You can't control Sea Kings. Poseidon controls Sea Kings. And wait, dragons would be a force in the sky. And Uranus, the other ancient weapon that we don't know about, has been theorized to be a weapon in the sky. What if it was like a dragon king is out there that can control all the dragons that we haven't seen? That's like this terrifying force, like Daenerys Targaryen's waiting out there somewhere. It's like, that's Uranus, but that's completely off topic. That could be a completely different topic for another video, so comment below if you want to see that video. But either way, dragons would be this terrifying force to create, and if Vegapunk was able to do that, that's a weapon that you could annihilate a lot of pirates with. Now, if recreating dragons wasn't the main goal, it could have been to recreate Kaido's devil fruit, like a dragon devil fruit. And we did see, at the very least, Vegapunk made one attempt at it with Momo's devil fruits. Now, Momo, like, you might be saying they don't look that much alike, but I want to note that Momo can also fly. And he showcased that in Punk Hazard, and how he flies is he generates these little clouds that he could kind of climb in a way. Now, how does Kaido fly, you ask? That's right, the exact same way. In SBS 93, Oda revealed that Kaido flies by summoning clouds and climbing and moving on top of them. So, them flying in the exact same way, and now we're in Wano and those two are going head to head, that would be such a unique way to explain, like, connect it all together. And like, Momo could showcase a lot more about his fruit that we don't know about, because this is Vegapunk who made this devil fruit. Caesar Clown was able to make smile devil fruits through the the lineage factor. Do we really think that Vegapunk, the smartest man, just made a devil fruit that allows Momo turns into this weak little dragon? There could be so much more that Momo can do in that form that we don't know about. Plus the fact that it was still encased in this thing, like do not touch. It could have been like the fact that, you know, Vegapunk had this devil fruit that like was pretty successful. And you know, Vegapunk, super smart guy, but he also worked a lot with like biology and devil fruits. He was the guy who was able to take devil fruits and put them into weapons. And he studied Kizaru's fruit and like put them into pacifistas. So him, if he ended up getting his hands on Kaido and experimenting with him, I guess that artificial devil fruit must be pretty strong. So that could be a really unique way to tie Momo back to Kaido, and like Momo is like the person that would retake Wano, right? So first of all, maybe Kaido sees Momo transformed for the first time and like gets like PTSD somehow from like the time on his Punk Hazard where he was getting experimented upon. And maybe Momo showcases a lot of skills with the devil fruit and stuff like that. It's just like you could really tie it all together. And I also think it would be a great way to expand upon Kaido's backstory, and it will explain a lot of his character and how he operates. Now, first thing you might say is, how does someone as strong as Kaido get captured? And that's pretty simple actually, because Kaido, he's been known to be unkillable, but he's taken L's before. It's been stated he was defeated 7 times and captured 18 times. Side note, that's a very weird thing. Like, if you were captured, weren't you obviously defeated? Or it doesn't mean like he was defeated by 7 specific like people and like they like captured him in total together 18 times. But I don't know about that. But either way, he was defeated and captured by both the Yonko and Marines. So he's been captured by the Marines. So maybe like the first time ever he was captured by the Marines, he was brought to Punk Hazard and experimented by Vegapunk. And maybe through all these experimentations, Kaido became immortal. Or like, you know, maybe he was human before. And the reason he became called the strongest creature is because he had all these experimentations done to him that he like lost his humanity in a way. And maybe that's why he tries to kill himself, because he became immortal through this terrifying process and like torture, and didn't mention he was tortured a bunch as well. So like maybe the fact that he's immortal is just something that he hates, so that's why he's seeking death sometimes. And the way Kaido operates, his whole Beast Pirates is set up by meritocracy, like survival of the fittest, the strongest at the top. Maybe that's just like the way he survived, you know, he fought. And so like, you know, he says like, even if I defeat you, if you're somebody strong, show me you're strong and you could join my crew. I don't want to waste you like that. You could keep on living because that's the way I survived. I was strong and I kept fighting and I survived this way. I don't want you to die like that. That might be pushing it a little too much, because Kaido hasn't really been shown to be a really nice guy at all. But that could be some kind of like thinking that he developed through his like tragedy. And this could expand further into like what kind of person Kaido was when he was younger. Now remember, on the Rocks Pirates, he was just an apprentice. Now you might say like, even though he was an apprentice, it was still the Rocks Pirates. But you know, Buggy was on the Roger Pirates, and like Buggy right now is not that strong. So maybe like Kaido wasn't that strong. And like he got captured a bunch of times here and there. And it wasn't until he was experimented upon that he like gained immortality and like really took himself to another level and like really decided to get strong. And that's when his potential really became like where he is now, where he has the highest bounty as a pirate. But that's more towards headcanon territory. The main theory I'm thinking of is that, you know, Kaido was experimented on by Dr. Vegapunk for his devil fruits or dragon form or whatever, to develop these dragons as weapons. If you really want to get crazy with it, you could connect to the fact that maybe Kaido is like connected to the like demon giants race. I explained that in detail in my Oars, Wano, and Kaido's origins video, so check that out. But pretty much that's like connecting Kaido to like Oars and the continent puller, and like Kaido as a Oni. So maybe Vegapunk was also experimenting with that, and like trying to recreate that. And also to kind of reinforce that, the Punk Hazard warning sign has like a skull very similar to like the skull on Onigashima, and like the horns are like kind of similar to the ones Kaido has. So maybe like, you know, Vegapunk like experimented on Kaido, and like Kaido, when he escaped, made like a big, like a lot of trouble. Or if you want to go with the route that Kaido is like related to the demon giants, he was trying to experiment on Kaido for that reason, and he made that warning sign to like symbolize this big ass skull on Onigashima, because that's the original content puller. And the name of the island, Punk Hazard, you know, this was made before like all the bad stuff went down. I don't think it's a coincidence that it's Hazard and Punk, like Vegapunk Hazard, like maybe it's like some kind of connection that way. Just another little thing that kind of reinforced my theory. And to add on to this, Vegapunk was also, as I mentioned, experimenting with gigantification, and who really is interested in giants is Big Mom. So the second part of this theory is Big Mom saved Kaido from Vegapunk on Punk Hazard, because Big Mom obviously wants the giants as like one of the races in her like family thing, right? But she hasn't been able to do it, and she knows of gigantification because she commissioned Caesar to do it. So she must have caught wind of Vegapunk doing it, and her motivation of creating and collecting every race is so strong. I think she would have gone after Vegapunk to try to get him and have him do that research for her. So maybe Vegapunk was experimenting with Kaido for his dragon aspect, maybe to the demonic giant aspect as well, and relating that back to gigantification. But either way, he was experimenting with Kaido for dragons and also experimenting with gigantification, and then Big Mom invades and then frees Kaido there because they used to be on the same crew, probably weren't on great terms, but she was like, whatever, you can go, this is like, now I'm gonna pity you and let you leave. And that's how she learned about gigantification of Vegapunk and learned that he failed. And then later on she commissioned Caesar because he was second in command to like all Vegapunk stuff, and he was willing to go that extra step of like testing on children and pumping them with a bunch of drugs and stuff. So that's how that could all be connected, and that would be a pretty big debt for Kaido to Big Mom. And the debt, as we know, is a lifelong debt, as Big Mom mentions, and saving his life, I imagine, would be a lifelong debt. And also Kaido mentioned it was a long time ago, so it could have been a while back, like right after the Rocks Pirates disbanded and Kaido started going off on his own, making his own crew, but he got captured and started getting experimented upon, and then Big Mom discovered him and freed him. So yeah, that's the theory right there. You know, Kaido as a dragon was caught early on and experimented on by Vegapunk on Punk Hazard, and then later on Big Mom came and saved him. This could be a way to explain how Kaido has become immortal and could connect to the demonic giants race as well, and also Momonosuke and Kaido on Wano, how that could be another element. It could also expand into how Vegapunk could arrive in Wano later on and tie this all together, but that could be another video topic, so let me know if you want me to talk about that. So what do you guys think about this theory? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think this is possible at all, or am I really stretching it? Or what aspects are you really intrigued by? What are your own theories about Kaido's origins and Vegapunk in general? Let me know in the comments below. But as always, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button. It helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, if you want to keep up to when I'm posting new videos, you gotta hit that subscribe button. I believe we're over 135 subscribers now, so thank you guys so much. We just keep growing faster and faster, and I really can't say this enough. Really appreciate it. So let's keep it rolling. Hit that subscribe button and hit the bell to join the squad as well. Follow me on Twitter. I'm TheKing4, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.